Hey, what's up, guys? James from Junkyard Fox. Thank you so much for joining me. And today I wanted to film a continuation on the last video we worked on, which was making a primitive desert shelter. Now, me personally, as a YouTube viewer, when I see a lot of these videos where people make a primitive shelter and they don't stay there, I kind of view it as a little bit of a cop-out. Now, don't get me wrong, as a content creator, I'm well aware that you're not always able to do that. We have jobs, we got work in the morning, you got kids, whatever the case may be, you're not always going to be able to have all this free time. And that actually was relevant to me last week. It was actually a couple of days ago, but I wasn't able to stay there. I still had to bring Cuervo Negro back to town, which is 2 hours away. And then I had to get home and edit the video and upload it. I don't carry my Mac over here in my primitive shelter. But now that I have a couple of, a little bit of free time, I decided to stay out here today so you could see a little bit of the evolution of a shelter. Now, like all homes, you're going to have some renovations. You're going to have to adapt to a certain degree, changes in weather and climate. If something's not working out, that's the only way we're going to learn is by actually putting ourselves in that situation. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to be roughing it out, minimal gear, just the things that I carry in my haversack, things found off the landscape, and a couple of little things, just something to eat. But thank you for joining me. Let's get started. So let me give you a rundown on the current base camp. So this is the first shelter that I built. We didn't film that. That was just me on my spare time, just messing around back here. And then we have the second one that we built recently. So there was always meant to be two, right, for me and Cuervo when we hang out in this region. But they kind of came out a little bit different in design. Not a big drastic difference, but if you notice, this one's a little bit shorter, more squatter to the ground. And I feel like this would be a better shelter for a cold weather scenario because it would be easier to stay warm in there as opposed to that one that's a little bit higher, lets a little bit more breeze in for the hot summer nights, for example. Now, if you notice, this one needs a little bit of repairs. So something people don't notice, people don't realize when they don't live in the desert is just how windy it gets out here. I mean, we've had 35-mile, 40-mile-an-hour winds out here this week, and it's going to be like that basically for the next month and a half this time of year. And some of the thatching flew off. Not a big deal. That just takes, some gathering and placing them back in here. Not only that, but truth be told, when we were filming the video for this one, towards the end, towards the last half hour of filming, we were really running out of time from the sunlight. Sun was about to set, our camera was down to 10%, so we needed to hurry. So we did cheat a little bit and steal some of this to place on that one to get that video done. Once again, not a big deal. I can just repair that. And that's the thing about a camp, guys. You're gonna be making some repairs constantly. Now let's move over here so you can see the rest of the camp. I brought my crappy tripod. I am filming solo today, so of course no Cuervo, so I gotta do this by myself with that crappy tripod. I did bring water because, guys, there is no water out here at all, so I gotta bring my own. So I got my little canteen and a gallon of water. I brought my jacket. This is my crappy old cotton jacket. I'm sure you've seen this one hundreds of times, particularly in my first 2 years of Junkyard Fox. I used to wear this one all the time, and even though this is a cotton jacket, I could have brought something a little bit better like wool because I don't have blankets for this adventure. I didn't want to get my wool jacket or my jean jacket or something, my nicer coats, full of dirt and dead grass and stuff, and stickers. So this is going to have to do. And then, of course, I brought some thermal underwear and my wool bandana. And then I have my haversack. Of course, I got a couple of things in there I carry. I have my gloves for repairs, my small Yuko lantern to help illuminate me here in the night. Now, for what I have in here, the basics, forms of making fire. I have my folding saw, and then I did bring, so I have something to eat later, a ramen packet and summer sausage. And I have my container in there, of course, to boil water. So just a quick meal and, something feasible, something realistic you'd have on your haversack or your pack while you're out here backpacking. Yeah, something simple. I didn't bring a fork. I forgot to bring a fork, so I'm gonna just have to improvise and carve out some chopsticks or something. And then I did bring 2 bags of grass so I can start making my bedding for the night, and I may have to use some for here. You can tell that the winds did take some thatching from this area, for example. So we'll have to fix that up a little bit. And you may hear noises, guys. This is the weekend. It's Saturday this day, and there's a lot of people that head out to the desert to go shooting their guns and stuff. So I apologize, but yeah, not too bad overall. This shelter held up very well, much better than the first one, and that's because we added a lot more things to it. It just needs a little bit of repair on this side. So 15 minutes later, we did repair what needed to be repaired, just slightly. I did add a little bit more thatching right here. This seems to be the weak spot of this shelter. I also threw a bunch of these extra yucca stalks we had left over to kind of help weigh that grass down. I don't like this normally because it attracts the human eye. Somebody walking by will see this and it's going to grab their attention. That's why I like that shelter better in terms that it's more camouflaged, because people out here, they have no respect. They're out here shooting guns and they see something like this, they'll come here and they'll set it on fire or they'll shoot at it. It's not the first time that I work on something and then I come back a week or two later and it's completely destroyed and there's beer bottles everywhere. So when I'm gone, I'm going to try to make this a more subtle shelter so it doesn't draw attention from people. Other than that, I also did add my thatching here, so I'm going to be sleeping like a squirrel. It's not the same as blankets and cuddling with cats, but it's going to have to do. And I'm trying to get the softer grass here and then get the rougher the stickers and all that stuff more towards that side, because most likely I'm going to sleep with my boots on, and that way they're protected and I'm a little bit more comfortable. And yeah, I got my little lantern here for the night, and it's going to be home sweet home. And while we're speaking of home sweet home, we might as well customize it. Hell yeah. So there you have it. My shelter's as good as it's going to get for the day. I think we're fine. From here, I'm going to start gathering firewood. We still have about 30 minutes left of sunlight. I'd rather just get that over with now. I'm not hungry or anything, but I'd rather just have it ready. So I'm going to look around, scout out the area for more, for some dead twigs and sticks and stuff like that. So I'm making my way down to this little area, this patch of land where I was gathering all the dead grass in my last week's video for the shelter. And I did stumble upon this little gold mine right here. So you see, let me turn the camera around. So this little area has a lot of mesquite trees. Now be careful with the mesquite, because I don't know if you've seen our mesquite video, but there's thorns on this. And some of them are pretty calm thorns, like these are pretty mellow, and some are just ridiculously, just gnarly. So watch out in this area. But I did notice all these sticks right here. So some of them could be mesquite, some of them most likely are pine. I see some pine cones over here. That's not natural. That, pine does not grow in this area. But we're going to take advantage of this and scavenge all these. They're already cut for me. Less work for me to do with my folding saw. And mesquite and pine both are good sources of firewood. So that's going to work to our advantage. So I'm going to get in here and be careful. I'm going to stop filming because check out this mesquite right here. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. Nope, the camera's being difficult right now. But yeah, gnarly spikes. But yeah, I'm going to gather all these so I have a nice fire for the rest of the night. So the fire's getting nice and cozy. I'm relaxing. I forgot to tell you guys, I did bring a couple of beers, not a bunch, but just enough to unwind and relax and enjoy myself because I'm roughing it, but at the same time, I want to enjoy myself. And sadly, Cuervo's not here to provide the jams. However, these guys, they're a little shy, but let me introduce you guys to my friends. So we got Nikki, Mick, Vince, and Tommy right here. And they're going to join us around the campfire. And they're a little shy right now, but hopefully later on they can provide us a couple of jams. So let's have a good time. So sadly, as of right now, the winds are picking up pretty gnarly. They're getting pretty intense, and they're going the direction of my shelter, which that's the last thing I want. My shelter is a matchbox, guys. It's just a bunch of dead grass. So the last thing I want to do is cause, some fire. So I may have to let the fire die out just for the night. And, I don't want to risk anything. And I may not be able to make those ramen. That's fine. If anything, I could just eat the summer sausage as is. Just take a couple of bites of it. And, yeah. So, making the best out of it, but you got to put up with these variables. Alright guys, so come on, let's hear some jams. I know you guys know a couple of them. Oh, come on, just relax, just unwind around here, around the campfire. Let's have a good time. Best to be free, 'cause I'm carry on, running free. A little bit better than it used to be, 'cause I'm alive. Woo! Pretty cozy. Okay, so it's late night. I'm ready to call it a night. I'm ready to go to bed. So you see me inside my shelter. You see my fire out there already dying out. Now, I don't want to get it too close to my shelter because my shelter is just a tinder box. So I don't want to risk nothing like that. The only thing that has changed since last time we spoke to now is I did replace the lantern. This lantern's always riding in my truck, I'm sorry. And earlier I had this one. Same brand, Yuko. Now, Yuko, obviously this version is much smaller, so it's easier to ride in my haversack as opposed to this one. However, now I'll admit this thing wasn't fully charged because this was a last minute thing. However, I did charge it for an hour in my vehicle and it still died out again. It died out the first time. I charged it. It died out again. So I'm not too impressed, honestly. I much prefer this one. I do have a review on this light. Way better. Other than that, of course, we don't want to talk about it on Google, but you never know. In case of anything, well, I'm prepared. And we're good to go. So other than this, we're ready to call it a night and go to bed. So, lights out. Okay, so it's 2 in the morning. I had to wake up. Unfortunately, and this is part of roughing it out, as part of learning, is the winds are actually coming from the direction of inside the shelter. So I'm getting cold out here. My feet and my legs are warm, but my face, my head, my shoulders, they're all cold because of the wind. So what I had to do is, I didn't have the camera with me because I had it charging in the truck about a quarter mile away. But earlier you saw me putting a bunch of sticks on the side of the shelter. I had to get those and place them diagonal to the side of the shelter, and I ended up making a little bit of a door. I don't know how good that shows on camera, but yeah, a little bit of a wind block because it is cold. It's just hitting my face. It's hitting my nose, my ears. So I did that. I did steal some grass from the first shelter. I did take some creosote as well. Just something a wind block. And then from there, I think I'm going to eat a little bit of the sausage. Just something so I have some fuel inside of me, some fat, some grease, So I'm going to do that because, like I said earlier, my feet, my legs are warm. I'm fine. But the breeze that's coming in here, obviously when I'm sleeping, I'm not wearing the hat. But when it's coming in here, it's hitting my ears, it's hitting my nose, my forehead, So I'm going to try to improvise on that. Morning, everyone. It is about 8 o'clock, 8:30, around there. So the sun's been up for about an hour, probably like an hour and a half. It was cold. It was very, very cold. We had winds coming into the shelter, coming from the northeast, heading in. So it was pretty cold. As you saw last night, I ended up making this little door, this makeshift little door to kind of, block the winds, and that helped. But as you can see behind me, a lot of the thatching flew away. So I'll have to work on that. Not today, but I'll come back later, another day, next week maybe, to work on that and work on a way to keeping that grass on there so the winds don't blow it out of the way. Other than that, the grass bed, it did help out, but I do gotta take my own advice. In the last video, it's not enough. Once your body compresses it, it gets really close to the ground, so I would probably bring some more, to make it thicker. Other than that, in the middle of the night, I was cold, and one thing I ended up doing that was pretty, I can't believe I didn't think about it earlier, is, I was cold, and I went outside to pee, and while I was out there, I saw the fire dying out. There was just embers, it was really dead, and I ended up getting these rocks from the fire. I got about 4 of them, and brought them with me. And they were nice and warm. They weren't hot to the touch anymore, but they were, radiating heat. And I brought them, and I used them as a pillow. I put one against my chest. Just different parts of my body. I fit a small one in between my hip in my jacket, and those did help. I was still cold in other parts of my body, but at least those did provide me some heat. So. I would have paid $100 for a blanket last night, that's for sure. So one last look at this makeshift door. Not the nicest, not the prettiest of doors, but it got the job done. It did provide some blockage of the wind. It wasn't perfect, of course, but it did help out. It was a noticeable difference. Other than that, for the future, I'm going to need more thatching. I'm sorry, not thatching. Just more bedding. And, it's not a big deal during summertime. I'll be honest. There's times during summer that the night is so pleasant, you can just sleep on the bare ground next to the fire and you'll be fine. I've done that before. Just, it's the cold time of year. It hits down to like 40s. I know somebody in Michigan's going to scoff at that, but us desert dwellers, that's cold, especially when the wind's constantly hitting your ears and stuff like that. But this helped out. The door helped out, and of course these these rocks, they really helped out as well with dispersing some heat in here. This was my pillow, as you can see. So not the softest of pillows, but it did make a difference. It was appreciated. So one last look at the shelter, my improvised door in the middle of the night. I will come back and work on a more solidly built door, and one that I could alternate to this direction if needed. But I'm going to do that another day. Other than that, there's a couple of bald spots on the top, but overall it's okay. It held up surprisingly well. The problem was wind coming into the shelter. That's something I did not anticipate, and I should have, but I mean, that's part of learning. And I need my hat. Okay, so final thoughts on this little adventure. Overall, it wasn't too bad. It was just pretty windy. That was the biggest problem. Anything I would have changed was I would have very much liked to have dinner, just for the fact so I would have something internal, some fuel to help me stay warm on the inside. So, that nice hot broth from the ramen that I had in my pack really would have helped me out. But once again, it was just very windy. I didn't want to start a fire enough, to boil my canteen, because once again, that's a tinder box right there. So winds were going that direction. I didn't want to risk anything. But some kind of food, if I had brought, say, steak and something simple that I could just have roasted over the coals, something like that to help me out. So some dinner for internal fuel. But once again, if we were simulating a survival situation, you probably wouldn't have something to eat readily available. So it kind of worked out. Other than that, my campfire over here, I ended up getting about 4 rocks in the middle of the night to throw in the shelter. There's about 9 looking here. There was about 9 rocks. So I could have taken more rocks in there to help me, stay warmer in there. And next time I'll have more bedding as well. The bedding was actually not too bad. I actually noticed that from the hips down, I was fairly warm. I was fairly comfortable. It was just like on the sides of my body, like my hip, my shoulder, stuff like that. Especially my head. Once again, I'm sleeping. I don't have my hat when I'm sleeping. And the winds were coming this direction. So behind my ears, forehead, stuff like that. Next time I'll be sure to bring a beanie or have a beanie in my haversack or in my coat, and I think that would really help me out, kind of stay warm up here. And then I raise this when I'm sleeping like this, so I would have been okay. But that's about it. I'm not gonna bother making food out here. I'm gonna pack up my stuff and hit the nearest Denny's for some breakfast. So thank you for joining me. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this situation, this adventure with me. It's part of growing as an outdoorsman, as a prepper, whatever you want to call it. And overall, that's part of life. It would have been, once again, a little survival simulation, but at the same time, I had a good time as well. Okay, so time to pack it on up. Oh, and I gotta tell these guys bye. All right, boys, I'll see you later. You guys be sure to take care of our home sweet home. So, the guardians of the primitive shelter.